first one I want to talk about is unconditional love and compassion. Marriage takes unconditional love. It's love without conditions. It's meaning I'm going to love you regardless. Meaning that I'm not going to only love you when you're 130 pounds. I will love you when you're 230 pounds. It means like I'm going to love you regardless of your health. I'm going to love you till the very ends of this earth. It means that you don't have to do anything to win my love. I love you. I chose you. And that is the love that I have. What is up, my dear friends, and welcome back to another episode of Honey, I'm Home. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about how can you begin to build a good and successful, long-lasting relationship with the one that you love, or maybe you're single and you're trying to find that somebody. Well, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the backstory of how my wife and I met, and then to hopefully spark some hope on understanding how this world of dating works and how it worked for me to find the love of my life. But also, we're going to be talking about the 5 ways in which you can begin to elevate a love that can last a lifetime. And this is a conversation that is asked of me to always talk about. Hey, Tyler, how do you create a love life that lasts? Well, I'm no expert in love, but I am an expert in the idea of how to have and create a happy home and a happy marriage and have a great relationship with my wife. Why? Because I've spent the time with her to get to know her needs, wants, and desires. And ultimately, we're going to be talking about, if you stick around to the very end, the 5 very disciplined practices that you can implement in your own life and in your own relationship so that you can create a very happy and fulfilled home, relationship, and marriage, if that's what you want to create. But I highly recommend you at least stick around till number 3, because number 3 is probably one of my most important tips that I've learned in my marriage that has sustained us through any type of difficult conversation, and how to navigate those difficult conversations, because in your marriage, it's going to inevitably erupt, and there's going to be moments of, difficult conversations and arguments, disagreements. And so it's going to be important for you to learn how to navigate those. And this is a role that I've established in my own home with my wife that has helped us to always come out on the other side of a difficult conversation with more love and more forgiveness and more peace in our home. So, my dear friends, I wanted to talk to you today about this because today is also a very special day. It's June 11th, and June 11th is a day that I will always remember. It might not be significant for you, but today's the day that my wife and I got married 2 years ago today. It's our anniversary. And so I wanted to share this very special episode to talk a little bit about, how I've been able to cultivate a happy home, a happy heart, and a happy love life with my wife, because marriage is difficult. Relationships are difficult. They're not very easy, and they're oftentimes challenging, and sometimes could feel like they're not worth it. But, I've never questioned whether or not my wife is worth fighting for. I believe that she is worth my entire life. I would give my life up for my wife, and she means the world to me. And I want to just spend some time with you to hopefully bring you a sense of hope and inspiration by sharing my own story, that you can, hopefully understand that love is out there. It is real. It is hoped. It is kind. It is patient, is peaceful. And if your love life is sucking, well, we're hopefully going to change that today by having the conversation with you, because I don't want you to give up on love and close off your heart just because a relationship ended. But once again, before we talk about the 5 roles of love that will help you to become really good in your relationships, as well as create a lasting love, my dear friend, if you've been here for a while, I appreciate you being here on the podcast with me. I don't take that lightly. I love that you guys are a part of this journey. I've evolved this podcast so many dang times, and you still decide to show up and spend your time with me, and I thank you for that. You are my greatest blessing to be able to share this moment with you, to speak into your life and your relationships, to hopefully with the end goal of creating happiness in your heart, home, and help you to become a leader that can lead themselves out of the chaos and over the hurdles and obstacles that life ultimately has to throw at you. And, I want to ask something that I ask all the time, but it's something that I am looking so that we can help this podcast reach more homes, more hearts, and more people. And it's just to leave a review on the podcast app, of whatever app that you're currently listening to the podcast on, and leave a review. It's a quick give, and it's free. Leave a review. Let me know your thoughts, or DM me, screenshot this podcast. Let me know that you're listening to this, and I'll be sure to share it out on my story. But once again, you can tag me on Instagram at TylerJoestratton and share the story out if you find this podcast episode helpful, supportive, encouraging, and or uplifting. But now, my dear friend, on to today's episode, where we're going to be talking about the 5 rules of love that will help you to create a lasting and loving relationship. Welcome to the podcast. We are in it today. Today is my 2nd anniversary. Happy anniversary to you, my dear love. I am forever grateful to have you as my wife and in my life and as my friend. And I know that you listen to these podcasts, and I'm excited for our night tonight. For those that are tuning in tonight, we're going to celebrate our love by just spending time at our new home, enjoying the present moment together. And we just bought a new Blackstone grill, and we've been loving that thing. We love the Blackstone grill. It is a fun gift that we got from my father and my mother-in-law for our anniversary. And we're going to be cooking hibachi on the grill tonight. We're going to have some steak, some rice, some chicken, some vegetables, and toss it all together, have a glass of wine while we reflect on our wedding video. One of the things that we really enjoy doing each year is just to kind of spend some time watching our wedding video. Maybe we don't complete the whole thing, but it's just a reminder of what a beautiful blessing it is to be in a marriage together, and to hone in on the love that we have and had, and the day that we got to celebrate, and just kind of recommitting to what we committed to back in June 11th, 2022. It's kind of a nice reminder. It's kind of a nice foundational reminder of the love that we got to share, and we still share to this very day, that's always improving and always growing. And I'm excited for this night tonight, and just to spend time at home with our puppy, and in our new home, and using the Blackstone. And it's not going to be any fancy dinner. It's no gifts. It's nothing like that. It's just a simple card, some flowers, spending some time, grilling out, and really just spending quality time. I love quality time. I love spending time with my wife, because each day is usually spent in the busyness of the day, whether it be the work-life balance, or if it's the business balance, or it's, trying to make time for myself or for my friends. And, so just spending some quality time is so vitally important for me. And, I want to help you today understand how my wife and I have created a lasting love. We've been together for 7+ years, going on 8 years, and in a couple of months, and we've been married for 2. And it's been a blessing. This has been the best relationship I've ever obviously been in, and I've been in out of a select few of relationships that have been that came with a lot of trials and tribulations, and second guessing myself, and they've been challenging, and that's what casted me into becoming more of a relationship coach and leadership coach, helping people to navigate those muddy waters after they feel like they lost love and lost themselves. Now, kind of reflecting, let's talk about the start of the dating space, because I know there's a lot of people that are on this podcast that are overcoming a heartbreak, that are single and maybe are ready to mingle, but they don't know where to start or how to begin. But let me tell you a little bit about my story, because it's an interesting one, actually. It's unique in its own way, because my wife and I had no affiliation. She lived 3.5 hours away from me, in a different city, and I had no recollection or any idea or inclination that she existed, right? She was a complete stranger to me. I had no affiliation with her. And I remember back in 2017 in October, I was modeling at the time, and I was traveling quite a bit. And I remember this girl. I don't know who followed who, but I either followed her or she followed me. But ultimately, I've had this internal feeling that overcame me throughout the weeks of following her, that made me interested in her online on Instagram. And I wanted to pursue her, but I was fearful to pursue her, because first thing, I just got out of a relationship. Secondly, she looked like she was in a relationship due to the picture. So I'm not a homewrecker and I didn't want to DM her or anything like that. But something internally told me that you should DM her. And this was going on for weeks. And I was so fearful to fall into the temptation of reaching out to a person whom I don't know where she lived, where she's at, part of the country, if she's part of the States or not. Like I had no idea who she was. She's just a girl online that I kind of was like intrigued by. I was waiting for her to post on her story. And if she didn't, then I would actually be posting my travels and trips and times when I was modeling. And every time I would go to my story, I would scroll up and you could kind of see who was looking at your story. And I was always hoping that she would see it. I was kind of posting for her, but yet she didn't know me and I didn't know her. And so like when I was experiencing this, I questioned like, should I reach out to her? But you know what? My mind said, do not reach out to her because she still had pictures of her ex up. And I just went through a tough breakup, and I was just like, you know what, forget about it. I'm not going to reach out to her. So more weeks went by, and eventually it's crazy because I never engaged with her stuff, like to give her a hint that I was kind of curious about her. But she ended up reaching out to me. She slid into my DMs and direct messaged me and started to hold a conversation. Now, at the time when she sent that message, I was like, holy crap, you got to be kidding me. I ran to my brother's room. We were living together at the time in the house that we bought together. And I ran into his room. I was like, dude, you'll have no idea. You won't believe what just happened. This girl that I've been following, that I've been wanting to reach out to, but I didn't reach out to. She reached out to me, and I was like, holy crap, this is crazy. Like, what are the chances, right? Like a boy or a girl, a man or a female or whatever, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, a girl that I wanted to reach out to that I didn't reach out to ended up reaching out to me, and we started a conversation. And that conversation, we spent 3 days on the phone together, like just hours on end, just connecting and communicating and talking. And we clicked so well. Like it was the best conversation. I fell in love with her ability to hold a conversation with me and just navigate the murkiness of all of my crazy ideas and like different beliefs and thoughts. And she entertained them. She made me feel heard and appreciated, valued, respected. And it was all in a conversation. We were FaceTiming and Snapchatting back and forth for 3 days. And I was like, you know what? It was on a Saturday. I was like, I got to go down to Pittsburgh and meet this girl. And so I had the pleasure to drive 3 hours away to go meet this stranger. And we met down at the point, and we explored Pittsburgh together. We held conversations for hours. And I would spend from like the afternoon to like 10 p.m. with her, just exploring Pittsburgh and just talking about, hopes and dreams. And it was like, beautiful moments of just conversation, and conversation can really spark excitement and commitment and connection. And it was something that I was longing for because I was used to like short, quick texts, not much to go off of, always trying to pull teeth to hold a conversation with individuals. So if you're there, I get it. I know where you're at. It's not easy, but ultimately, what I started to in that moment understand was how much I loved connecting and talking to people, more importantly, talking to her. And so it was like the first day that I drove down there. We've been talking for maybe like 3-4 days at this point in time. I drove down there and we explored Pittsburgh, like I was saying, and we went out to eat at the Cheesecake Factory. And during that date, our first date in person, I told her, like, I know this sounds crazy, but I just have a feeling that you're my person. And she said, it doesn't sound crazy because I know you're mine. And now, granted, she's getting out of a relationship that was rocky as well. I was too, but it was an undeniable feeling that we always just say, if you know, you know. And there's nothing more that I can explain it to that. Like, if you know, you know. And here's the difference between if you've had that experience and you went through a heartbreak. I'm sorry that you went through that, but here's the difference between me and most men is that I still am treating her the same way that I treated her when I first met her 8 years later. I have not stopped treating her like she's the best thing in my life, that I'm excited to see her, that I want to hold her, kiss her, love her, be with her. I haven't stopped giving to her. I haven't stopped showing up for her excitingly. I don't hit it every day, but it's like 5 days out of the week that are 6 days out of the week that I'm like spot on. And I don't say that with pride. I'm just saying that like I understand the intentionality it's going to take if I plan on being with this woman for the rest of my life. And so I take it very seriously. My relationship is one of the most serious things that I take, even though I have a lot of goofiness with the relationship, which brings beauty to it. But when I told her on day one that I thought she was my person and she said the same thing, I did everything in my power. I picked up all of my stuff without a job and moved to Pittsburgh, in a very expensive apartment that I couldn't even afford. I had a savings account, and I just started to look for jobs and started applying and started to finish out school and college, my college career. And we just started working on the relationship, because there's one thing I knew for certain, is that she was supposed to be my wife, and I needed to make that happen. And so here we are, 7+ years later, 2-year wedding anniversary, and I am so fulfilled with love, happiness, and excitement for the future. And I want to share with you how I've been able to maintain a positive, healthy, uplifting relationship with the love of my life, so that you can implement these practices with those that you love too, or for your future love. I will always say to keep your heart open and put yourself out there. If you have an inclination that you're supposed to be with someone, that you should talk to someone, that you're supposed to reach out to them, and it's an intuitive vibe, it's your heartfelt vibe, and it's not your mind steering you into the direction, but it's your heart, like something is eating at you inside to reach out to them. I would say reach out to them based upon my experience that I had, and it was such a beautiful experience, because she turned into my wife, and the best damn wife that's out there. She's so committed, so supportive, so respectful, so loving, so gentle, so kind, so funny. She meets me and matches my energy, and there's so much to her that I'd love to share, but unfortunately you didn't marry her, so I'm not going to share it all with you. So anyway, let's talk about the 5 roles of love that will help you to be in a good, happy marriage relationship, with yourself and with others. And the first one I want to talk about is unconditional love and compassion. Marriage takes unconditional love. It's love without conditions. It's meaning I'm going to love you regardless. Meaning that I'm not going to only love you when you're 130 pounds. I will love you when you're 230 pounds. It means like I'm going to love you regardless of your health. I'm going to love you till the very ends of this earth. It means that you don't have to do anything to win my love. I love you. I chose you. And that is the love that I have. That's the love that God has for me. Regardless of your religious belief, I believe that God loves me unconditionally, loves you unconditionally, and that's a love without judgment. That's a love without condition. It's unconditional. And so when I talk about unconditional love and compassion, it just simply means this: always put your lover first. It's not about you. It's not about me going into that relationship. It's about the relationship I have with my wife, and making sure that it's about what I'm giving to her, not what I'm taking from her. It's that I am giving more than I am taking from her on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. It means that I'm giving to her. I am making more deposits than I am making of withdrawals. This has been a key to our relationship success, because I'm not trying to just take from her. I'm trying to meet her needs, so that if the more that I give to her, the more I will receive from her. Tony Robbins puts it this way. There's a beautiful article that he wrote a while back, and it says, if you want to create an extraordinary relationship with your partner, then you must start with yourself. I couldn't agree anymore. But remember, a relationship is not a place you go to get something. It's a place that you go to give. To give your undivided attention, to give your energy, to give your love, and to give your heart away to that person. Because the beauty is that when you give this much, you get even more in return. You create joy and passion, trust and intimacy that transcends every obstacle and every challenge that comes your way. In fact, even the darker moments along your relationship's journey becomes a great blessing and a gift that will allow you and your partner to become stronger and more of a unit. He wrote that, and I couldn't agree more. And I think that it's super vital and important for you to understand that we go into relationships to give, not to take, not to, strip away from, not to completely change someone. It's about allowing yourself to give unconditionally and to give with compassion and understanding. It's about, what can I give to her today that I haven't given to her yesterday or the week prior to the month prior? What have I forgotten to do that she loves that I do for her, that I haven't done for her in a while because life has gotten busy, stressful, and hectic? These questions I think about on my drive back home. Every day, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every day I try to think about, how much more can I give to her? How much more love can I give to her? Love doesn't have to be material things. It can be, the way that you wake up. It's grabbing her before I grab my phone in the morning. It's looking at her and complimenting her, reminding her every single morning how grateful I am to have her in my life and as my wife. If you are in a relationship and you feel like you're the giver and you're constantly giving and you're over giving and you feel depleted, then I would recommend, that you double down and take care of you so that you can give more. You can't always give from an empty cup. And if you're not receiving the same amount of love that you're giving away from your partner, don't blame your partner. That's okay. Continue to love. That's the idea. The idea is when you don't feel like they're giving you the love that you're giving them, then it's time to double down and take care of yourself, right? Taking care of yourself and doubling down and making sure that your cup's fill so that you can go into the day to give more love and have more love in your heart, have more grace, have more patience, have more unconditional love and compassion. That's number one, is just fight for the unconditional love and compassion in your relationship. Number two is to have the courage to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is the secret to your overall connection. If you want to have a greater amount of intimacy and connection in your long-lasting marriage or relationship, then you need to learn how to be vulnerable. And this just means like love no matter what through it all. It means that you should always remember the power of the 3 A's that I talk about in my book, The Big Three. So in my book, The Big Three, I teach you how to build joyful and loving relationships with yourself, others, and God, and everything in between after you lose yourself. Because I feel like that relationships are the quality, equal the quality of life we live. If we have poor quality relationships, it's because, we ultimately don't know how to build great quality relationships. But also if you experience a poor quality life, it's usually because you have poor quality relationships. So in this book, I teach you exactly how you can begin to build joyful and loving relationships with yourself, others, and God. And in my book, I talk about the 3 A's when it comes to building a relationship with other. The first A is attention. You must be willing to give your attention to them. Your attention is a focused, intentional moment with them, meaning that you're there without distraction. You're not being distracted by your phone. You're not being distracted by your watch, your computer, your work, your business. You're there with them, present. And that's the point of tonight's, date, an anniversary. It's like, I don't want to be distracted by going out in public to worry about the stressor of parking a car, paying for parking, finding a meal on the menu, how long it takes for us to be served. I want to just be there with her in our new home and just her and I. That's it. Intimate. And I think that, if you were to give more of your attention to people, they would feel like you're trying to connect with them. They would feel your love with them. And so the first A is attention. The second A is appreciation. There's not a day that goes by, and I really do mean this, that I don't tell my wife how much I appreciate, love her, and respect her, adore her. I tell her every single day how much I appreciate her. There's not one day that goes by that I don't let her know that I think she's become numb to it, to be honest with you, at this point, which is a good thing. But like every single day, there's not a day that goes by that I don't try to tell her why I'm appreciative of her. And then the last A that you need to focus on is adoration. I adore my wife. I love her so deeply, and I adore her, and I compliment her, and I build her up, and I frequently check in on her just to let her know, like, honey, everything I'm doing is for you, and it makes me feel good that I get to do it for you. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life and sharing your life with me. I don't take it for granted. When you implement these 3 A's in your relationships will significantly improve. And the third big idea here, and this is the one that I think is the most important. It's the one that has catapulted me into a healthy and loving and joyful, rich relationship that's been long-lasting. Long-lasting, I mean, this means like 7+ years, 2 years of marriage, happy marriage, and I've never thought about getting rid of her once. I never thought about leaving her. We've never broken up, ever. Soon as we committed, day one, we've not chosen anybody else. So it's like, and that's been in the past 8 years, and I still want to go another 8. I want to go another 18. I want to go another 80, because I get to explore who she is, and there's so much beauty in that. But number 3 is to tell yourself the truth. This is all about the importance of getting very conscious and committing to allowing yourself to experience the present moment. Your state, your body, your language, your words, your facial expressions, how you show up is super important. Every day I try to build myself up so that the way that my facial expressions are when I greet her are more exciting, are more welcoming. They're not looking super stressed and worried and fearful. They're looking like they're loving. You know, if I told you to get into a loving state of being, your body would change. You would become more relaxed. Your eyes would widen. You know, your face would soften. There'd be a lot of positive posture that can play a significant role, and understanding that, you know, there is a lot of a beauty that you can experience just by the way that you show up, you know. So ultimately, this is kind of where I want to talk about, you know, when you basically tell the truth, right? It's about helping you to understand that, oh, I'm sorry, you know what? This is funny, the way that I had it worded. So tell your truth is about getting consciousness. It's about the commitment. It's about allowing yourself to really show up in more presence and experience. I was trying to go through my notes and I lost track here. But ultimately, here's kind of what I want to tell you, is that you need to get more present. And this is not the most important one. I thought it was, but this is not the most important one. It's number 4 here. 4 is the most important. And this is the one that I stand behind without a shadow of doubt. It's the one that has helped me to engage in a marriage that is fighting for one another. And it's this: you got to know the truth, okay? This is the truth to every relationship that you've got to understand. It's that it's not you versus them. It's not me versus her. When we are in a conflict conversation, when we are struggling to engage in a conversation with openness, lightheartedness, love, patience, and listening, I always remind her, this is a core to every conversation that we have that gets a little bit rowdy, is that it's not me versus you, honey. It's us versus the problem. It's the marriage versus the problem. Okay? Like, we want the same thing, right? Like, I'm not the enemy here. You're not my enemy. You're the love of my life. And so you're not the problem. It's our marriage versus the problem. And when you start to look at your relationships like that, my dear friends, things begin to change, and they begin to change dramatically. When I stopped looking at her as the problem to some of the arguments that we've fallen into, and I started to understand that it's the devil versus our marriage, it's the problem versus our marriage, it's the external person versus our marriage, it's the mother-in-law, father-in-law, it's the in-laws versus our marriage, it's everything against our marriage, not me versus her. Things begin to change because we're on the same team. I'm not going against my wife. I am standing with my wife in the moments of struggle and chaos and even controversial topics that we sometimes get into heated debates about. I am not trying to debate my wife. I'm trying to debate the problem with my wife so that we can get to a conclusion that we agree upon. And so at the end of the day, as long as we want the same thing, which is a love, a marriage, happiness in our home, peace in our hearts, then we can ultimately most often navigate all of those difficult relational conversations that we have. And I think that if you could allow yourself to be in those conversations and recognize and call out, hey, honey, this is not me versus you. You are not the enemy, and I hope that I'm not the enemy, but it's our marriage versus the problem, and let's attack the problem. What is the problem? The problem is that you're annoying me. Okay. Well, then I will make sure that I go away for a moment and take some time away from annoying you, and I will go do my own thing, right? So that's kind of what you need to understand, is like the fourth big idea, and that's where I said sorry, I got a little mixed up, but it's knowing the truth. The truth is it's the marriage, it's the relationship versus the problem. It's not a me versus you mentality. It's we're on the same damn team, and we're going to overcome this together because we are a powerhouse couple. And no matter what we face, no matter what internal dialogue, no matter what internal truth that we're facing, I don't need to do it alone. We're going to hit this battle together, and that's what's going to help us become a dynamic duo and really make this marriage last, because I am not going to become some statistic in my my marriage, in my home, that's going to end in a brokenness. So I'm going to continue to love you every single day the way that I have loved you since day one, and I'm not going to give up on that commitment, because I know that that's what it's going to take in order for us to make it in this world, that the world is stacked against us. People are stacked against us. There are friends that are stacked against us, family that are stacked against us. So they might think they're doing the right thing, but at the end of the day, it's me and you versus everything else. And I believe that there's no one else I'd rather take on this world with. So that's the fourth idea. So let me cover the 4 out of the 5 ideas. So you have to have unconditional love and compassion. Number 2, you have to have more courage and vulnerability by practicing the 3 A's: appreciation, attention, and adoration. Number 3 was tell yourself the truth, which means that you show up with a better body language. It means that you are committed to allowing yourself to experience the present moment in a way that allows you to feel more aliveness and more connection by your state, your posture, your facial expressions, your words that you use in that moment in time with that person. Number 4, the most important, like I said, it wasn't 3, it's 4, is you got to know the truth, which is always the marriage versus the problem. And the last but not least, to wrap this podcast episode up on this second anniversary of our wedding anniversary, is this: you got to give each other freedom, the power of freedom, the power of forgiveness, the power of forgetting and flooding. Create a safe space for each other to make honest mistakes and forgive them for the mistakes that they've done. I'm not perfect. She's not perfect. And this has really helped me to understand with unconditional love that I'm not looking for perfection. I'm just looking for you to try to give your best. And your best is not needing to meet my expectation, but it should always reach your expectation. So once I have that conversation with my wife and be like, well, what is your expectation here? What are you trying to meet here? For a quick example, if you're trying to lose weight and you want to be in the gym 3 days a week and you're not holding yourself accountable to those 3 days a week, you're only going 2 days a week, I'm going to hold you accountable and say, like, you should get in the gym 1 more day this week because you're not holding yourself accountable to your expectations. My expectation should be, if she wants to lose weight, then she needs to get in the gym 7 days a week. Every single day, you should be moving your body 30 minutes a day. But it doesn't matter what I think my expectations are. It matters what her expectations are and helping her meet her expectations, not my expectations. So giving your partner the safe space to open up about all of their troubles, all of their problems, all of the goodness, all of the hardship that they're facing that they might think that you think is stupid, will give you guys the space and conversations needed in order to build that really strong, long-lasting relationship, my dear friend. Relationships are hard, but if you want to make them easy, then here's my final piece of advice. Treat your lover the same way you treated them day one, and you will never lose the spark of love ever again. Love takes time. Love takes an intention. Love takes appreciation. Love takes patience. Love takes kindness. Love takes you showing up every single day of your life to continue to express yourself in the greatest manner possible. So, my dear friends, this is an episode for those of you that are looking to get into another relationship and understanding how to keep that love alive. This is a real episode for you that feel maybe hopeless in your dating space because you're like, how am I ever going to find someone? Well, let me tell you something. The way that I found my wife wasn't the way that I expected to find her. I figured I was going to marry someone from my hometown, not from someone from Instagram. And let me tell you something. This podcast episode is for those of you that are feeling down and out and like, love cannot be rekindled. I promise you, if you start to love unconditionally, have more courage and vulnerability, know the truth by actually allowing yourself to, understand that it's the marriage versus the problem. If you allow yourself to tell yourself the truth by meeting yourself in the present moment and experiencing what is really supposed to be experienced, and last but not least, giving yourself and your partner some freedom to be able to make mistakes without feeling completely depleted from the mistake and hurt from the mistake, then I believe that your relationship and your love is going to last a lifetime. I really do. These are the 5 things that I've come up with that have helped me in the past 8 years continue to build a great relationship with my wife. And I hope that you found today's podcast helpful, supportive, encouraging, and or uplifting. And if you did, my dear friend, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the podcast at, because that is what's going to help this podcast reach more homes and more hearts, my dear friend. My name is TylerJoestratton, and this is Honey, I'm Home.